Well, I'm back. Hi, you haven't seen me since last year, but I'm here. I'm alive. I'm doing well. Last year was a bit chaotic. And this new year has turned out to be also a bit chaotic. So this is just a first PSA to say that I'm sorry that I have been gone for so long. It was not intentional at all. I had planned to get out videos in January after I fell off in December, and basically what happened was the first few weeks of January, basically the first half of January, it was either I was sick, I pulled my back at one point, or I was sick again, and things were just not going my way. But I just let myself, you know, rest and relax, and I got better, and I'm doing great now, which is amazing. And yeah, so here we are now in February, and this is going to be my February TBR. So I'll go ahead and get into the first book that I'm reading, which I don't think anybody will be, you know, shocked at, but it doesn't have a dust jacket on it. But I'm reading House of Flame and Shadow. This is the third book in the Crescent City series. I honestly have heard so many theories. I don't know if this is the last book. I don't know if this is just the third and there are more to come. I really have no clue, but I am about 315 pages in out of like 800 something, and I'm loving it. But I'm not going to go into detail about what this is following because obviously that would be spoilers, but this book is so good. If you love fantasy, urban fantasy, you need to read this book. You need to read Sarah J. Maas because, oh my goodness. I finished Throne of Glass last year, and so I am all caught up with Crescent City, with ACOTAR, and with Throne of Glass, and there's just something about her writing that keeps me coming back for more, and that's exactly what this book is doing. I'm also vlogging this while I'm reading it, so that vlog will be out soon, hopefully a week after you're seeing this video, and I'm just super excited. I don't want to go into too much detail about what Crescent City is about because I want you to find out on your own, to be honest. So if you haven't given it a try, definitely try it out and see if it's for you. The next book that I'm reading is a book that won on 2 Patreons. So this was a contender for my Patreon book club pick of February. I am now, instead of doing a bi-monthly pick or a bi-monthly book club on my Patreon, I'm doing a monthly book club, and it's going great. But this was also a contender for Olivia's Patreon book club pick of February as well. So it won both of our picks, so we have decided to just combine it and do a live discussion together on this book, since we share a lot of the same patrons, and I'm so excited that this one won because it's going to be amazing. I already know. And that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I ordered my edition from Blackwell's, which is why I have a paperback version, which I kind of like. It's very easy to read, but I'm super stoked about this. I've heard so many things. The most that I've heard is that you will love it if you love Hunger Games, if you love Throne of Glass, if you just love romantasy, and so many people are hyping this book up. I think the second also comes out this year, which is really exciting. So if you're looking to get into something like that, definitely head on over to my Patreon or even Liv's Patreon and check it out, because it's just going to be a blast. We always have a good time on live discussions, and we are pretty much on each other's live discussions a lot, because we read the same things, so it's easy to do it. But the fact that this says Hunter, Destined for Each Other, sold me immediately. So you have these group of people that are called the elites, and they are people that have been born with power, and they were gifted their power. And then you have people that are born ordinary. Obviously, they're people without powers, and they are banished and shunned from their home, which is a little extreme if you ask me. So we're following a girl named Peyton, and she is an ordinary girl, but she is posing as an elite with powers, and she ends up in this situation where she accidentally or just happens to save somebody's life, and that person happens to be the crown prince of the this place that they live in, and he decides, like, to put her in these trials. It's a games, basically, for people to show off their powers, and to win and all this stuff. And she's gonna be in some deep trouble because she is just pretending to have powers. So this is about to be something. So basically, she's fighting for her life in these trials, and she doesn't even have powers, and they all do. And she's also trying to fight against the fact that if she loses, or if the people with powers don't kill her, that she is probably going to be killed anyway once they find out that she doesn't have powers. So I definitely see the aspects of, like, Hunger Games. It also kind of reminds me of Divergent, where you have these people who don't fit in, and she's trying to pose and act like she does fit in. So I really like that idea. It just sounds great. It looks amazing, and I feel like this is going to make for a great discussion. Another thing that I am participating in is part of Liv's Patreon, and she is doing a romance weekend readathon, and I'm super excited about it. It's happening from the 9th to the 11th, so this coming weekend. You still have plenty of time to sign up for her Patreon and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. She has some reading prompts. We're doing a movie night. She's doing some reading sprints. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So one is to pick a friends to lovers romance, and I am choosing to finally read The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I have only read one Sarah Adams book, and that was When in Rome. And I know that the rule book, which is the second book in this series, is coming out this year. It's in April, and so I have just been determined to read this now. I also absolutely love a sports romance, so we know I'm gonna love this one. So we're following Bree, and she is in love with her best friend, who is an NFL quarterback. I think he's a quarterback. I don't know if he's a quarterback. Don't quote me on that. I think he's just a NFL football player. But she is in love with him, has been for a while now, but she doesn't want to, you know, put her feelings out there because she doesn't want to risk losing her best friend. And she just is like, let's not complicate this with feelings, you know, let's just be friends. And Bree was a big thing in ballet. She was an amazing ballerina, but one day she got into a really bad car accident, and it caused her to not be able to dance anymore. So now she just owns her own ballet studio and teaches dance out of there, but the rent on her studio is starting to increase, and she is struggling to keep it afloat. So basically, Nathan, her best friend, swoops in to save the day, buys the building, and that way she doesn't have to worry about rent. And she is mad. She did not want that charity. She did not want that to happen. And so she goes out one day and she's drinking, and she spills a little too much to a reporter, and the reporter, you know, puts this big story out making it seem like Bree and Nathan are a couple, and everything is like kind of hitting the fan. And Nathan's publicist decides that it would be a good idea for Bree and Nathan to pretend to be a couple for at least the next 3 weeks. And so, you know, it's already going to be hard because Bree is fighting these feelings for her best friend. We don't even know how Nathan feels. So it's hitting that question of, is it ever too late to leave the friend zone? And we are going to find out in this book. The next one is to read a book with pink or red on the cover. And I chose to read Six Scorch Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is a novella from the A Crowns of Nyaxia series. The first book in the series is The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then the second one is Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This one is a novella that goes in between the two. I don't think you have to read this one, but you get introduced to characters that are going to be in the second book. So a lot of people recommend that you read this, and I've heard that it's really, really good. So it says 6 roses, 6 vials of blood, 6 visits to a vampire who could be her salvation or her damnation. Lilith has been dying since the day she was born, but while she long ago came to terms with her own imminent death, the deaths of everyone she loves is an entirely different matter. As our town slowly withers in the clutches of a mysterious God-cursed illness, she takes matters into her own hands. Desperate to find a cure, Lilith strikes a bargain with the only thing the gods hate even more than her village, a vampire named Vale. She offers him 6 roses in exchange for 6 vials of vampire blood, the one hope for her town's salvation. But when what begins as a simple transaction gradually becomes something more, Lilith is faced with an terrifying realization. It's dangerous to wander into the clutches of a vampire, and in a place already suffering a god's wrath, more dangerous still to fall in love with one. I just feel like this is going to be so good. I absolutely loved The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I just know that I'm probably going to love this one just as much, and it's going to make me so excited to get to the second book in that series, because I've been waiting to get to it, and so this is actually going to be the push that I need to read that one. And the last prompt for her readathon is to read a book that gives you fuzzy feelings, and I am choosing a Lynn Painter book. I'm choosing The Do-Over. Look at this, look at these edges. Look at them. They're so cute. Like, how could I not read this during February? I read Better Than the Movies by her last year, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was super cute, super good, and I knew that I had been sleeping on Lynn Painter, so I'm definitely not making that mistake this year. It has a trope that I don't really care for that much, and that is when people relive that same day over and over again and different things happen. But I just feel like Lynn Painter is going to do it in a way that I don't really mind, and I'm excited to see if that's the case with this one. So we're following Emily, and she has just had the worst Valentine's Day ever. It's been a complete dumpster fire train wreck, and she is over it. So she does what I would do, and she goes to her grandma's house, and you know, she is hanging out with her grandma, you know, prattling on about all the things that have gone wrong, and she ends up, you know, falling asleep, and then she wakes up and it's Valentine's Day all over again, and it keeps happening with that cycle of it being Valentine's Day, and she has to relive it. So she has to keep reliving this day and keep seeing her boyfriend cheat on her, which is just like rude. Like, who wants to see that over and over and over and over again? And she also keeps running into this boy named Nick, and apparently she keeps running into him in like the worst ways possible, and it is just literally not her day or her days. But then things start happening that are good on this Valentine's Day, and Emily is wondering, like, what is going to happen when I actually stop reliving the same day over and over again, and is everything going to be the same afterwards? What are the outcomes going to be? Like, is her life ever going to go on? It just sounds super cute, and I've also heard from someone that this book gave them 10 Things I Hate About You vibes, which is one of my favorite movies, and so I'm super excited for this. I feel like this will be the perfect way to have like a little Valentine's read before Valentine's Day. The rest of the books are just books that I am planning to read throughout the rest of the month, starting off with A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I feel like this has been on quite a few TBRs of mine, and I have yet to read it. I know that it's romantic. People say it's achingly atmospheric, haunting and tender, a love letter to stories, darkly romantic and unsettlingly eerie. People like Alex E. Harrow, Rory Power, and Erin A. Craig have blurbed this, so I know that I'm going to love it, and I just need to get to it. This is one of my books that is on my 12 books recommended by 12 friends. Olivia, who y'all obviously know from Liv's Library, she recommended that I read this, and it is about time that I got into it. So I'm super stoked about it. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming, and I feel like I'm going to fly through this book, but I'm super, super excited to get to it. I know it's about an architect. She goes to basically remodel and re-uphold this really old manor that her favorite, I think, author, yeah, her favorite author lives in, and it turns out to be like this competition between who is actually going to get to, you know, help and redecorate and redo this manor. But there are obviously more ominous, dark things going on within the walls of this manor. So it sounds like the perfect read, and I just know I'm going to fall in love. The next one I am buddy reading with a few friends of mine, and I'm super excited about it, and that is The Hobbit by JRR Tolkien. I just cannot wait. I feel like this is a long time coming, and I feel like you're going to yell at me for this, but I have never read or seen the Lord of the Rings movies or The Hobbit, and I know that when I watch them, I'm going to love them. I'm going to be obsessed. I'm not going to want to put them down. and I'm going to get to them, I promise. So that is the start of this. I wanted to read The Hobbit, the prequel, first, and then watch that movie and kind of do like I did with Harry Potter a few years back. So if you don't know what The Hobbit is, which most of you probably do, it says, in a hole in the ground where there lived a hobbit, not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It says, now recognized as a timeless classic, this introduction to The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, the wizard Gandalf, Gollum, and the spectacular world of Middle-earth recounts of the adventures of a reluctant hero, a powerful and dangerous ring, and the cruel dragon, Smaug the Magnificent. I'm super excited for this. It's going to be a really fun read, really cozy. Especially now that I know like cozy fantasy is my vibe, I just know that this is something that I need to pick up. I'm also reading Flawless by Elsie Silver on my Kindle. I'm getting it from Kindle Unlimited. This is for part of my 24 books of 2024. My friend Rachel over at Happy Go Lovely Sleeves absolutely loved this book, and she's been reading the rest of the series and trying to get us to read it, and I honestly am a sucker for a cowboy, so any cowboy romance, throw them my way and I will read them happily. We are following this guy who is a professional bull rider, and he ends up doing something that puts his career, you know, kind of in trouble. And so his boss puts his daughter in charge of this bull rider, and he's like, honey, you've got to straighten this guy out. You've got to keep him, you know, keep his record straight, like make sure he does what he needs to do to not ruin his image. And so she is like, you got it, Dad, I will take care of it. And obviously she's trying to help this guy with his attitude problem and with just like how he is conveying himself to the outside world. And I'm gonna assume that things start to get pretty emotional, pretty physical with them, and that's, you know, she starts to see more of who he actually is. He's gonna get to see who she is, and it's gonna be so good, and I'm just so ready for it. I have been wanting to get to the series for a while now, and it's time. Another book that I'm reading is for Liv's Patreon, and it is a read-along that she's doing, or a reread-along of the Hunger Games series. She's doing one like per month, and then you watch the movie at the end of the month, and it's been super fun so far, and we've only done the first one. So I'm going to be reading the second, which is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins this month, and I cannot wait. This is probably my favorite book in the series, my favorite movie in the movie series, and it's just gonna be so good. I had read Hunger Games when I was younger. I think I was in elementary or middle school, and getting to read it for the first time, or reread it for the first time and read it as an adult, really made me realize why I fell in love with reading. I was like, yeah, if young Kendall was reading this, she obviously was going to turn out to love books, because this was amazing. And I'm just super stoked to like revisit one of my favorite series that I grew up with, and I can't wait to just watch it with everybody and talk about the book even more and dive into it and remember why I fell in love with reading in the first place. And then I'm reading a book that was recommended to me by one of my friends, Elizabeth, as part of my 12 books recommended by 12 friends, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And I am stoked for this. I started this book, I think last year at one point, but I was just not in the mood for it, so I sat it down, but I knew that I was going to love it and pick it back up again, and now is the time to do it. And I've just heard that this is the coziest of fantasies, so I'm ready for it. It says, a magical island, a dangerous task, a burning secret. Linus Baker leads a quiet, solitary life. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records. As a caseworker at the department in charge of magical youth, he spends his days overseeing the well-being of children in government-sanctioned orphanages. When Linus is unexpectedly summoned by extremely upper management, he's given a curious and highly classified assignment. Travel to Marcia's Island Orphanage, where 6 dangerous children reside. A gnome, a sprite, a wyvern, an unidentifiable green blob, a were-Pomeranian, and the Antichrist. Linus must set aside his fears and determine whether or not they're likely to bring about the end of days. But the children are the only secret the island keeps. Their caretaker is the charming and enigmatic Arthur Parnassus, who will do anything to keep his wards safe. As Arthur and Linus grow closer, long-held secrets are exposed, and Linus must make a choice: destroy a home or watch the world burn. An enchanting story masterfully told, The House in the Cerulean Sea is about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place, and realizing that family is yours. It just sounds so cute and like such a good time, and I've heard that it has funny moments, it has sad moments and happy moments, and I've just heard that I'm going to fall in love with like all of the children, and I'm just so excited. I feel like I've really embraced cozy fantasy and really gotten to like dive into it the past few months, and it's just something that I really do truly love, and I didn't even know it was a genre, to be honest, until a few months ago. So it just makes me so happy that I have books that are out like this, and Legends and Lattes, and Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, like things like that make me so happy. And I'm just so excited. I feel like this month is going to be a great reading month. I feel like I have the perfect books picked out for what I'm in the mood for, and like I said, I've already gotten started, so it's going very well right now. But hopefully you were able to find some book recommendations in this video as well, if that was what you were looking for, and I really hope that you are able to. I also hope that if you have been kind of in a slumpy mood, or if you feel like January wasn't the best start of the year, that February is the best for you, because that is what I'm telling myself, is that this is my actual start of the year. But let me know down below what you are reading right now in February, what you are starting off your February month with reading, what is on your TBR, all of that let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video.